Hey guys, my name is Shamalori and welcome to my YouTube channel, The Musical Medley. If you're new to this channel, I'm a fourth year medical student in the UK, and this channel is basically just a little reflection log of myself, and just so I can also look back over the few years to see how I've developed, and also to try and help anybody out there that may be thinking of doing medicine, or just anybody in general. So happy 2021, happy new year wherever you may be, whatever time you may be watching it. At this moment in time of recording, I believe it is the 8th of January 2021, so we literally just moved into a new year. Even in this year already, we've had a lot of various things happening, and to be honest, it's been quite crazy so far, but it's not as crazy as 2020 was, and hopefully it will even get better as well as the year progresses. In this video, I'll be talking about my footprints for 2021. So usually at the beginning of the year, I know we all like to have goals, we all like to set resolutions, as it were, for the coming year. I like to do mine a bit differently. I call them footprints because they're things that are already made and they're pathways which are already set. I just have to walk in them, and my planning them is me setting the pathways, whereas I have to put in actual action to walk into them as I go on. And these footprints, they are based on lessons learnt from 2020, lessons learnt from my previous years as well. And trust me, 2020 had a lot of lessons in which I learnt for myself personally, and I learnt based on things I saw around me as well. So let's head straight into it, going into the first one. So the first one is basically, for me anyway, based on the lesson I learned in 2020 as well, is to find a mentor. And that is something I'm going to do this year as well. 2020, I was privileged to have actually various mentors as the year went by as well. And some of them, it so felt as if they came out of nowhere, which was great. Whereas some of them actually genuinely worked and put myself out there in order to get those mentors. And trust me and believe me when I say having a mentor is one of the best things you can do. It's genuinely one of the best things you can do. And I'll talk about it a bit further in, I think, in another video actually. But for me, having a mentorship relationship has changed a lot of things in regards to me. My mindset is developed it. Having a mentor has even helped me to take the standards even higher, has helped me to have networks and contacts which I never even thought possible or I could never even imagine. And making sure I stayed in regular contact with the mentors as well really helped me, help the way I speak, help the way I think, and it just helped me develop as a person. So now that I've already seen all the effects of mentorship from last year, I'm just going to do the same this year and hopefully try and find more mentors and try and find some more people who I can learn as much as possible from them. But it's also important, which is something I'm going to talk about later, is when you have a mentorship relationship, it's not you, if you are the mentee, it's not a give a take relationship as well. You also have to give, and you also have to act, you also have to be impactful as well. Otherwise there's no point in the mentor being there, apart from you just being a leech and just taking from the mentor. But that's not what we're going to do this year or last year or any year. So yeah, it's important to find a mentor who you can impact and who they can impact you. And going beyond that as well, for me anyway, it's all about being a mentor as well. I don't know where you guys are watching this maybe in regards to stages of your life, but the way I see it is you're never too young to actually be a mentor, and you're never too old to be a mentor either. But for me, it's more of, for every stage in your life you go through, you always know more than somebody else. So for example, let's say you are in college or sixth form, for example, you would know considerably more than somebody who was doing their GCSEs or somebody who was in year 9, because you've been through that experience. And then you can also mentor those younger people by giving them words of advice or just showing them things in regards to how they can better themselves at that stage. And then it also goes a step further. When you get to university, you have a greater bank of knowledge which you can use to mentor those before younger than you as well. And it keeps going like that, it keeps going like that. And another key lesson I've learned as well is that your mentors don't always have to be older than you. The mentorship for me is somebody who has more experience than you in a particular area. So personally anyway, I think it's important to have mentors of a wide variety as long as their knowledge is to a high standard. And that, for me, like, that's the biggest criteria. If their knowledge is to a high standard, then I have no issues, no qualms from learning from them as much as possible, because at the end of the day, I will learn and I will improve and I will, get better and move higher. And then that brings me on to my next point. Another footpath I want to go this year, or footprint as it were, that I want to take this year, is I really want to work hard to develop myself in 2021, and I think it can be applicable to anybody watching this as well. Something I like to say, I said it last year as well, I wanted to work hard to develop myself, and I did. This year I want to take a step further. Last year, if I reflect on last year was more of pushing myself. So I literally tried to push as many boundaries in regards to what I thought I was capable of as possible. And to be honest, I think I did that for the most part, but I didn't reach my breaking point. And that is sort of something I want to not do, but I want to push myself while I can, to see how far I can go. Because sometimes you actually don't know how far you can go until you get there. And to get there, you have to push yourself. It might be uncomfortable, it might be hard, it might be difficult. But if you don't do it, you always remain stuck in that little bubble of, of comfortability, something I've talked about before as well. But yeah, that's something we don't want. And something I really love is a quote, which is literally, you're the only person that determines how far you go in life. Especially last year was when it actually came real to me. Even with all the whole COVID pandemic and stuff, there were still people who managed to find ways to succeed. Even though it seemed like the world around them was crumbling, or there were so many different things happening, there were still people who managed to adapt, who gained resilience. And in that resilience, they became stronger for it. They became better, wiser, and they just smashed it, and they had great years. Even me, 2020, I had a good year overall, actually. Looking back at it, I learned so much. I became a better version of myself. Unfortunately, we had so many bad news as a planet during the year as well. However, if you focus to develop yourself, you always improve. Like I said, you're like, literally, as cliche as it sounds, something I've learned is the only barrier to progress is yourself. Obviously, we can look at the more deeper aspects of the question, such as systematic and structural barriers. So such as like systematic racism and stuff like that. Those are different topics for another day. But in order to get that foot into the door, in order to be able to progress early, it requires a lot of effort on the individual, you, me, myself. And when you get that mindset that literally if you want to put in the work, you'll get there, then you will. So the next step for me is to actually actively look for opportunities. So this goes to a wide variety of things for me. One of the things I want to get involved in a bit deeper in 2021 is even like medical research and stuff like that. So it's about actively looking for opportunities in regards to research that I may be interested in, and then just go from there. This goes for other things as well. Music, look for opportunities to get more involved in music, goes from there, and then just keep adding it on, and just keep getting better, keep progressing until you're somebody greater than who you were last year. Then the fourth point for me is one that I love, is the whole idea of aiming to have an impact on somebody's life every single day of the year. And that's something I set as a goal for myself. It has to be a positive impact, but every single day, whether big, whether small, it might not be measurable by me, but I should go into each day thinking, I want to have an impact on somebody's life. How can I better the life of my fellow man? Obviously, I know sometimes it can seem a bit not cheesy, but over the top, doing too much. But I believe if everyone in the planet had that mindset of how can I further impact the life of this person, life of that person, a lot of things would be so much better. So that's one of the goals for 2021. Every single day, have an impact in somebody's life. And honestly, whoever you are, wherever you may be, if you're watching this, I'll say it's something you should imbibe as well, because as a whole planet, especially during these times as well, there's a lot we can do to have an impact on the lives of other people and to make other people's lives better as well. Next footprint for me is identify weaknesses and turn those weaknesses into strengths. I think people say this a lot. Again, a lot of all these things, they're not new ideas, they're not new concepts, but we hear them so many times and we actually don't do anything about them. So this one is stuff I've actually been doing before, but I want to take it to the next level in 2021, and I implore you to do that as well. Or what I mean by taking it to the next level is I want to do it differently. So it's not just, I think personally anyway, from what I've seen, a lot of people are scared to admit their weaknesses. They're scared to identify what they aren't good at and improve. But when you embrace your weaknesses, you turn them into strengths and you use it as even a driving force to become even better. Now, I'm gonna use a great example. So when I was young, I used to stammer actually. Well, when I first came to the UK, I had a bit of a stammer because I couldn't speak English too well. It got a lot better, but yeah, I had a bit of a stammer. But I recognized that and I used that as a bolster to even help me to develop the English language, help me to develop my diction and things like that. So I worked hard at it. I made it a personal goal to become even a better public speaker, better at orating, and just more confident as well. That's something I worked on. This was when I was quite young actually. And from that age, it was something that I had in my mind. I would study great speakers, how they spoke, and what they did in order to become, better public speakers. And I try to apply that to myself so I can become better for myself and further improve as well. And to be honest, that's been helping me so much. It's helped me with so many things. It's even helped me in regards to putting myself out there with the YouTube as well. That was one of the reasons I started to do YouTube. I wanted to be honest, it was quite a personal thing. I wanted to use it for myself to become a better public speaker, to become more comfortable speaking in front of people, to become more comfortable speaking in front of cameras and things like that. And honestly, like, I've seen the results of that. I find it a lot easier to speak to people, large groups of people. Before I was fine speaking to like small groups of people, but I can speak to a large groups of people without any issue because I've put myself in situations which old me would have found uncomfortable. But that's the thing, the more you identify your weaknesses and you do things which prod and poke at those weaknesses, they eventually start becoming weaknesses and start becoming strengths because your body adapts. Now to my last point, just imagine where you want to be at the end of this year. If you had a time machine and you could see yourself at the end of the year, imagine what people would say about you. Imagine who you'd want to be. Basically the gifts, the skills, the things you want to have learned, the experiences you want to have had. Even though I know with lockdown it might be a bit tricky to get all the experiences in, but the things you want to have done. And let's try to make that a reality. This is not a massively encouraging speech to pump you up, but it's to say that whatever you do right now is literally in your hands. We have the power to change our lives for good, but it doesn't start. Things don't just happen on a whim. Things don't just happen like that. It literally takes one day at a time of gradual and progressive work. But if you keep putting the work in, it will work out in the end. Thank you guys so much for watching my video. I really appreciate the support I've had over the past year in regards to my YouTube. Going forward, I will be a lot more consistent because that is something I want to hold myself accountable for as well, consistency. But yeah, got a lot of stuff planned this year, guys. So yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching the video and for rocking with me. I will see you guys in the next one.